Hey, what's up guys, and welcome to my new video. Today I want to show you how to dropshot mod your Xbox 360 controller for Call of Duty. So this works in every Call of Duty from Modern Warfare to Black Ops and Ghosts, and I think every one of you knows what dropshotting is. So basically it's laying down and shooting at the same time, so you're harder to aim for other players. And this works by pressing the B button while shooting and aiming, and you can also do this by switching the layout of the controller buttons or with this mod here. So when you do this mod, you don't have to switch to the tactical layout, and you can also dropshot more easier. So for this mod you should have some basic soldering skills and some equipment, which I will show you right now. So the first thing you need to have is the circuit board of your controller. So you can do this with every controller, there are no restrictions, and basically it's the same on every controller. And if you don't know how to open up your controller and get out the circuit board, there's a tutorial on my channel, so just click on it and check it out. Then further you also need to have some screwdrivers to open your controller and also to rebuild it. Then you also need to have a drilling machine and a small drill, because we have to drill a hole into our circuit board. And don't worry about it, it's very easy. Then you also need to have a momentary push button. So that means if you push the button, it will connect the two pins which you can see on the other end of the button. And basically this button will act as our second B button. Then you also need a sharp knife or a Stanley knife, because we have to scratch a little bit here on the circuit board. And you will also need to have a scissor to cut wires. You can take all wires you want to, but I would recommend taking very thin wires, because we don't have much space inside of the controller. And here comes the most important thing, which is the soldering iron or the soldering station. So you don't need to have a soldering station, you can also do this with your soldering iron, and you just need some solder and some basic soldering skills. So if you have all this stuff here, then you can follow my tutorial and dropshot mod your Xbox 360 controller. So here we go. Okay, so the first thing we do is we take the drill and we drill a little hole between the two pads of the B button. So be sure to drill on the golden line and on the right side, and also make sure that you take a really thin drill, because my drill is a little bit too big, but I haven't had another one. Okay, so after you have drilled the hole, and hopefully a little bit smaller than my hole, then you take a sharp knife or a Stanley knife and try to remove the black coating of the copper lines. So just scratch here a little bit until you can see copper, and don't scratch too hard, otherwise you could damage the copper which is under the black coating. And just do this until you have on both pads a little bit of copper where you can solder the wires to, okay? Okay, so after you're done, it should look like this. You should see copper on both pads, and now we're ready to solder the wires. So before we can solder the wires, we have to cut a few wires off, then remove the isolation and tin the wires, and just cut off pieces which are no longer than about 5 centimeters. After you have the wires, you have to remove the isolation on both endings. So I always use a little scissor to get off the isolation, but you can also do this with a sharp knife. Just make a little cut and then try to remove the isolation with your fingernails or with the knife. So now we should tin the wire ends. Therefore you take a soldering iron and heat up the ends of the wires from the bottom, and then apply solder from the top. Now do this for all 4 wire ends. Okay, now you're ready to solder the wires to your circuit board. Therefore just put them through the hole you have drilled through your circuit board, and then just solder 1 wire to each copper pad. So after you are done, it will look like this, or hopefully a little bit better. And don't worry about your B button, it will still work. And the only thing you have to check is that both contacts here are not touching each other here in the middle, because otherwise this will short your B button, and then your B button is pressed the whole time. So just check it with a multimeter. Okay, so now we have to drill a hole for the push button, and the perfect spot is on the right side and a little bit above the rumble motor. So I will mark the spot for you. It should be somewhere here. Maybe a little bit left, but you have to try it. and you just have to make sure that the contacts of the push button are not touching the rumble motor or any contact on the circuit board. And now you take a drill which has about the same size as the thread of the push button, and then just drill a hole into the case, and then you can put in the push button and fix it. Okay, so now after you've drilled the hole, you can take your push button, then put it through the hole, and then just fix it from the other side with the bolt. Okay, so this is how it looks when the push button is in. So here on this side you can see the pins, and here on the other side you can see the button and the bolt which holds the push button in place. So now you need to check if the contacts of the push button are touching the rumble motor. So if they are touching the rumble motor, you have to bend the contacts into one direction. So just take, I don't know, a scissor or a sharp knife or your finger and just bend the contacts into one direction away from any contacts. Okay, so this is how it looks when the push button is in and the circuit board. And here you also need to make sure that the pins of the push button are not touching any contacts on the circuit board, and also make sure that you don't damage the connector for the rumble motor. Then you should also check that the rumble motor is not touching any pins here on the push button. And now you can solder the wires to your push button. So it doesn't matter which wire you solder to which pin, just solder one wire to each pin. Okay, so after you've soldered the wires, once again make sure that both contacts are not touching each other or any other contacts. And after you have double checked all the connections here, once again try to fit in the rumble motor, and then you can try to reassemble your controller. Also make sure that the soldering joints on your B button are not too big, otherwise your B button will not work. Okay, so this is now the modded controller, and as you can see it just looks like a original controller, but you have here one more button which you can use to drop shot easily in Call of Duty. And now we'll go to the game and check out if the controller is working, so here we go guys. Okay guys, we're now in the game Call of Duty Black Ops 2 on the Xbox 360, and as you can see if I press the push button it just acts like a normal B button, but it's much more accessible like the B button. And if you want to drop shot, then you would have to press the B button, the R button, and also aim at the same time, and this is really hard to do without a push button. There's also a method if you want to switch the layout or just play like a retard, but if you do this with this mod here, then it's much more easier. And now let's try it with the push button, so here we go. So if we go now and I will press the push button and then I just lay down, I can aim during this and I can also shoot. And all you have to do is just press the push button with your middle finger, shoot with your pointing finger and aim with your thumb. So let's try this once again. We can aim, we can lay down and shoot at the same time. So very easy with this dropshot mod. So basically you could also switch your layout to tactical and use the right analog stick for dropshotting, but I really prefer this additional button because it's really easy to access. Okay guys, so this was my tutorial on how to dropshot mod your Xbox 360 controller for Call of Duty. I hope you enjoyed it, and if it was helpful, please leave a like and subscribe. And if you have any questions, just feel free to ask and leave a comment under this video. I will also try to reply as soon as possible. Thanks for watching, and as always, see you again in my next videos. Bye guys!